Hello. We are continuing our celebration of National Poetry Month with another poem of the week. And I hope that the last week's assignment, our fun poetry assignment, was fun to do with your children or your students or one and the same. I hope that you were able to kind of get into the flow of, that's my dog. Papa, no fusses. It's okay. I hope that you were able to get into the flow of last week's poem and last week's activities that go with the poem. Reading it every day, because that's what we're doing. We're exposing our children to fluent reading. And so poetry is one really good way to do that. We're also exposing our children or students to the activities. Last week was rhyming words. This week is still going to be rhyming words, but we're going to step it up a little bit. So last week was identifying rhyming words, which is a pretty passive activity. All the child needs to do is be able to hear that the words sound the same. Good. When we're talking about levels of phonological awareness, identifying rhyming words is not as hard as what we're going to talk about today, which is generating rhyming words, okay? And generally, it's easier to generate rhyming words when you can identify rhyming words. So that's why we started with identifying rhyming words last week, and then this week we're going to step it up, make it a little bit harder, and ask your child to generate rhyming words. If they can hear the rhyming words, that's great. Now let's ask them to create rhyming words, to generate rhyming words, to actively bring to mind other words that rhyme with those particular rhyming words, which is a harder level of phonological awareness. And so that's one activity that we're going to do today. Another activity that we're going to do is, so last week you modeled fluency, which is great. Continue doing that this week, every day reading the poem. This week you're going to step it up a little bit. You're going to ask for participation. Again, we're stepping it up from last week, and so we're going to work on a phonological awareness activity with rhyming, with the generating the rhyming word, and we're also going to work with a fluency activity where you're going to ask your child to echo read. So, and I'll show you what that looks like. But echo reading is a really good fluency activity to engage your child in, because what you are doing now is rather than just allowing them to hear, again, we're stepping it up, to hear what fluent reading sounds like, now you're asking them to participate in the fluent reading. You're asking them to do it too, okay? So in thinking about gradually giving them more responsibility for their own learning, these are two really significant examples of what that looks like, okay? So let's get started with our second poem, with our poem of the week. Our poem of the week is called The Frogs Wore Red Suspenders by Jack Prelutsky. And I have an affinity towards Jack Prelutsky because I used to read a poem. I think it was a poem about cats. I'm going to find that poem too. Every morning. And in first grade, and when I was a first grade teacher, and then when towards the end of the year, my students, they did the read alouds. I didn't, I passed on the responsibility to them to do the read alouds, and they were all able to do it. But one thing they would do is sometimes choose to read the poem that I've been reading for the whole year, and they would say by Jack Prelutsky, just like I would say it. And it's hilarious how your students or your children will mimic you and model you, and then you see yourself and it's like, okay, is that what I look like? So I'd like to hear his name and say his name. It reminds me of those good times. So I'm going to read the poem, and then I'm going to take you through the activities. The Frogs Wore Red Suspenders by Jack Prelutsky. The frogs wore red suspenders, and the pigs wore purple vests, as they sang to all the chickens and ducks upon their nests. They croaked and oinked a serenade. The ducks and chickens sighed, then laid enormous spangled eggs, and quacked and clucked with pride. By Jack Prelutsky. So this is what it looks like. So I'm going to take a picture of it and post it so that you can have access to it. You can just print it out with the awesome visual. And so this is what we're going to do first. First, I'm going to take you through what it looks like if you were to do this, the phonological awareness activity with your child, the rhyming word activity with your child. So remember last week, you had your child give you a thumbs up when they heard the rhyming words. You can still do that. So this is what that looks like. The frogs wore red suspenders, and the pigs wore purple vests, as they sang to all the chickens and ducks upon their nests. Thumbs up. Did you hear those rhyming words? The rhyming words were vests and nests. Very good. I bet you got that rhyming word I saw your thumb up. Now what we're going to do this week is when you hear the rhyming words, give a thumbs up, and then we're going to think of more rhyming words. We're going to think of words that rhyme with those rhyming words that we heard, okay? So let me give you an example of what that looks like. Let's say we heard rhyming words like cat and fat. Then you would give me some more rhyming words like hat and bat and rat. You could even give me a rhyming word like wet. And the reason why I say you can is because that rhymes. Fat, bat, cat, wet. It rhymes, but it's not a real word, right? So it's okay. Now I'm out of that mode. I'm talking to you parents and teachers. It's okay that they give you nonsense words, because you got to keep focused on what your goal is. Your goal is what's your goal? Generate rhyming words, not generate real rhyming words. Like, that's not what we're doing right now. That's two different things. Might be too much. Maybe it might not be too much, but that's not what we're doing right now. So stay focused. Focus on the goal. Generating rhyming words. They can be nonsense words. Just have them, indicate in some way that it's a nonsense word, or you indicate in some way that, oh wow, no, yes, that does rhyme. Now we know that's not a real word, right? Yes, we know that, but it rhymes. Good job. Okay, give them acknowledgement for doing the activity, for trying to do the activity first of all, and then for doing it, correctly. It doesn't have to be a real word. Okay, so let's do it with this poem. Okay, so remember last week, you know what mode I'm in when I start talking like that, right? So remember last week, I had you listen for those rhyming words and you gave me a thumbs up. So this week you're going to listen for the rhyming words and give me a thumbs up when you hear them. And then we're going to add some more rhyming words to those rhyming words, okay? All right, we can do it. The frogs wore red suspenders, and the pigs wore purple vests, as they sang to all the chickens and ducks upon their nests. I heard those rhyming words. Vests and nests. Those are rhyming words. Say them with me. Say vests, nests. Now let's add some more rhyming words to that. How about bests? Right? How about tests? Right? And then you let them, give you some more rhyming words. Or you can start with them generating the rhyming words if they, start off doing it, if they're eager to do it and they do it successfully. If they're not successful, give them rhyming words. Give it to them. Because again, just like last week when I told you, we're not testing. We are exposing. We are helping them to hear. The only way that they're going to be able to hear those words that sound the same is if you give them experiences hearing those words that sound the same. Okay? So that's the generating rhyming words activity, phonological awareness activity. So now let's move on to the fluency activity that you can do with your child. So the fluency activity is called choral reading. A lot of teachers know about this already. I'm sorry, not choral reading, echo reading. Echo reading. Echo reading is a lower level of support than choral reading. Choral reading is like a chorus, like saying it at the same time. If your child can read with you, then that's fine, then that works. If your child cannot read with you, then echo reading works. And so that's why we're starting with echo reading with a lower level of support, and then eventually you can take them to the level of choral reading, reading at the same time as you. But today I'm going to show you echo reading. So, and this poem does lend itself to echo reading. Not all poems do. So I did choose this poem based on the fact that it can support an echo reading activity sufficiently. So, you know what mode I'm getting into, right? So next, I'm going to have you do something with me, okay? We are going to practice reading together. Something that's called, and you can tell them the name of it if you want to, it's called echo reading. So I'm going to read a line. You're going to read the line right after me, okay? I'm going to follow with my finger. You can follow with your finger when you read it too. You don't have to, but you can. So I'm out of that mode talking to parents. So the reason why I'm saying that is because if they feel comfortable following with their fingers, great, let them do it. Again, you don't want this to be a high stress, you better keep your finger on each word activity. And here's a warning. They may not point to each word as they say it. That is information for you to do what? Model pointing to each word as you say it. Show them what it is that they need to know. Don't get mad at them. Don't, force them. You can, if you want, take their finger. Okay, let's make sure we point to each one. But make it really light, really supportive, really helpful. That's not. Now, let me show you. Let me see that finger. Let's make sure we point to each word. You see how mommy is doing it? Yes, good job. Okay, so this is what that looks like. What echo reading looks like. The frogs wore red suspenders. The frogs wore red suspenders. Easy, right? And the pigs wore purple vests. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be following with my finger. And the pigs wore purple vests. And the pigs wore purple vests. As they sang to all the chickens, and the ducks upon their nests, and you just do that for the whole entire poem. Okay? Too bad I don't have a little kid. I have a dog, and I haven't taught him how to read yet. So I don't have the full model of echo reading, but you get the idea. So 2 activities today. Another phonological awareness activity, phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, so important for beginning readers, crucial for 1/5 of all beginning readers. If they are not taught explicit phonological phonemic awareness skills, they will have reading difficulty later on. So that's why you'll hear me default to phonological awareness activities, eventually getting to phonemic awareness activities, which are harder. Like, remember, we were talking about the levels of phonological awareness activities identifying rhymes less difficulty than generating rhymes. Phonemic awareness is even harder. And so, but all of it crucial. All of it critical and crucial for successful readers. So, one activity did today, generating the rhyming words, and the other activity, echo reading, which is a fluency activity. And as always, talk about what the poem means with your child. Bring in that comprehension. These are not just black marks on a word on a page to be said. These are ideas and thoughts and words that come together to create images. And so help them to do that. Like, what is this, poem? Oh my goodness, what does this poem make you think about? Okay. So The Frogs Wore Red Suspenders. That's our poem of the week. Read it every day. Do the generating rhyming words, starting with the thumbs up, starting with identifying and then moving on to generating. And then the fluency activity, bring them in to do the echo reading with you. You can have them point or not. You should point to model. That'd be great. But not if it takes away from the fluency. Okay? The pointing to each word it has some importance. It's not as important as I don't want to say it's not as important. That's just not what we're doing today is concepts of print, making sure that they know that each word is a word. That's not the focus today. It can be a focus, but it's not the focus. The focus is allowing them to hear and to participate in fluent reading. So we're good. Read every day. By the end of the week, your child should almost have this poem memorized, and they would be able to read it to you. And so that's a good, really excellent next step, is to have them read the poem to you. Or you can do the choral reading together if they haven't, if they don't know how to read it from the beginning. So if you have any questions, please make sure you send me your questions. And a couple people sent me poems in my inbox, like in my private message or direct message or whatever that's called. And I love it to see those poems in DMs, but I also want to see poems publicly. Like, I want everybody to, I want us to be able to share. So to share that good poetry. So if you feel brave, please feel free. Questions, comments, let me know, and good luck with your rhyming words.